In the previous video, I looked at the design of the first mission in Human campaign. Now let's move on to the second mission, Grand Hamlet. But first, I would like to state that I'm not a professional real-time strategy player with thousands of hours of gameplay under my belt. I am more of a regular player who enjoys the game every so often. Therefore, this commentary will focus on what I like about the game and its design. The action in the campaign moves south on the map, as you can see based on the map from the game's manual. I also would like to note for world building purposes, it appears that humans don't really have any fortified stronghold that would keep orcs contained in Black Morass area, and they're able to send out raiding parties and armies against human settlements at will. Now briefing here is a bit deceptive as it promises a large orcish army, and the player will not see a large orcish army. Actually, there is no orcish base on the map, and the enemy units are scattered. Also, while Grand Hamlet is supposed to be a town, and on the map is shown to be a good-sized settlement, its current layout that consists of one town hall and one farm hardly makes it a town. Now, I think it is important to mention that from the start the player gets the archer unit. In the prior human mission, the presence of the orcish spear throwing unit teased that there will be other military unit types. And so now we see the human ranged unit. Archer unit, who's actually a crossbow archer, deals less damage than the orcish spear throwing unit but has greater range. The range actually makes it a superior unit to the orcish equivalent. By providing the unit from the start, the designers now get the player interested in the unit and allow the player to get experience in using its abilities. Also, this makes the player interested in finding out how to train more of this new unit. This could only be done once the lumber mill is built, a new building that is made available in this mission. And so all these design choices end up teaching the player the game mechanic that different buildings will unlock new units. Additionally, the mission will teach the player that new buildings offer things besides allowing to train new units. In case of lumber mill, it will be the ability to upgrade units. Since the upgrades only work for archer units, this will leave the player wondering if there are upgrades for the footman units. Thus, again, setting up expectations of future buildings that might help in upgrading the other units. And now, I would like to note that construction of lumber mill will not make it a drop-off point for lumber as a resource. Ability to build additional resource drop-off sites will appear in the future real-time strategy games, but in Warcraft 1, it is always the town hall. Actually, the designers made a conscious choice of preventing players from building out their base through the mechanic of requiring roads, and by making it only possible to build one drop-off site per map, the town hall. This was done to prevent the players building a base that would just take over the whole map. Now, I would like to note that there has been a change when it comes to computer opponent behavior. In the first mission, the enemies did not seek out the player. In this mission, the enemies do seek out the player and attack the player's base. This increases the challenge for the player, as now the players can't leave the base unguarded. And as we can see, there are multiple avenues of approach to the player's base. This in turn teaches the player that some military units need to be kept behind to guard the base and others could be used to explore the map. However, due to multiple avenues of approach, the player can't just passively leave military units to guard the base. The player has to keep an eye on it and come back to check on things. Actually, I believe that there are triggers written into the mission that will activate depending on players' actions, and the enemies will start walking towards the base. This could be the construction of certain buildings, number of units, or how far the player explored. However, to unexperienced players, the attacks will seem random. The last trigger seems to be built to force the player to pull back military units when they have gone too far to guard the base. I think the idea is that to try to catch a player who has dedicated all the military units to exploration. Overall, the second mission is still pretty much a tutorial mission of the game, because it's still teaching a lot of basic game mechanics to the player. It is worth mentioning that on this map the player can find bridges, which could serve as defensive points to stop the enemy, as they are the only way to cross the river. Also, the first mission had no bridges, so this mission is introducing this type of terrain to the player. For world building purposes, on the map in the game's manual, there is a river shown near the Grand Hamlet. That's the in-game mission terrain and the manual align. But on the world map, the Grand Hamlet is north of the river, so the only way I see how to reconcile the in-game terrain layout and the manual map is to assume that in-game up is south. Overall, it feels that this mission here takes too long to complete. The reason for it is because players given too few resources at the start. If the mission provides the player more farms and peasants at the start, it would have sped up completion of the mission, and there would have been no adverse effects on difficulty of it or what it is trying to teach the player, in my opinion. And now, let's wrap up the mission here. Now, because I was late in building the barracks, I suffered for that. I lost all the military units when the orcs attacked, and thankfully the orc decided not to go after the peasants, but decided to go after the farm. And while I had the footmen being built, I managed to kind of withstand the orcish attack because the farm has quite a few hit points, so the orc did not have ability to completely destroy the farm, and therefore we managed to survive. And now I'm just building up the forces back up. And now the plan is to build the lumber mill and to start making archers so that we can have those forces available to us to further defend the town and also to kind of explore the areas. Now we have 4 footmen. That's going to be my starting force that I'm going to use to explore. The reason I'm using 4 footmen and not any other number is because in the non-remastered version the 4 units was the max that you could select at the same time. So kind of an old habits die hard situation. So the lumber mill is on its way being built, and we are also continuing on to increase the number of peasants. We're gonna continue to build the other military units, and we're gonna continue to explore. But at the same time, you see, I just missed the orc who managed to sneak in. Like I said, there's multiple approaches to this base, and therefore this makes it very difficult to defend it just by being passive. You have to constantly keep an eye out on things, and in order not to lose any units. In this case, I did lose peasants, and that will continue on. Actually, I will be continuing to lose peasants to the orcs throughout the whole my playthrough the human campaign. This is going to be continuous kind of a problem, because one thing that the orcs do is they do prioritize peasants when they attack the base. So now I do have to supplement the losses that I experienced due to the fact that the orcs attacked and I lost some peasants. I will have to build some of them back. And now I'm also continuing to go ahead and explore. I'm using the footmen right now to explore. Later on it will be the archers as soon as I get enough of them. As you can see, I'm building up a small force. I'm trying to get them there to stand at that area. And the footmen actually did an important thing. They located the bridge that I will be using as a checkpoint. It's actually right there. I know that because I usually played already these missions before, so I kind of have a general idea where different things are. And of course that helps. There we kind of lost the footman, but the archer took care of it. So there you go. You can see that the section of the bridge is already visible. So I'm just gonna start moving my archers there so that they can take position there and defend the bridge. One thing happened there is that because I did just a regular move command, not the attack move command, my archer was continuously moving while the orcs were throwing spears at him. So I'm gonna lose that archer now. Next thing we're going to do is secure the bridge using the archers. The number of archers necessary to really hold the bridge is about 4 archers. Once you have 4 archers, they kind of hold the bridge. Any single unit that will be coming through will get destroyed. At the same time, now what I'm going to do is go ahead and send out my footmen to go and start looking for any other approaches that the orcs can use in order to attack me. For that reason, we are actually gonna go ahead, explore and go around, and we just killed another orc there. Now you will see me start using my archers in the formation that I will be using in the future mission. This formation allows me to slowly advance and sweep the area of the enemies. At the same time, I'm using the footmen to locate the other bridges or areas I can use as choke points for the enemy. And for the next few minutes, what we are going to do is to be sending out the footmen to kind of explore this area. The way the fog of war works in this game is that there's only one level. So there's a fog of war that completely covers the map, and that's it. In the future, the real-time strategy games will develop 2 kind of levels of the fog of war. There's one that covers the map completely, obscuring any terrain features, and one that leaves the terrain open but leaves out information such as where the enemy units are, but will display where the enemy buildings are. And we began now kind of a creep slowly across the bridge. That's going to be a strategy I will be using. This is the perfect way to kind of move slowly and minimize losses, because as the archers move in this slow fashion, they're opening up the terrain and they see any enemies, they will attack those enemies. And even though there are ranged attackers, most of them do not have the range that the archers do have, and so therefore the archers do have a superiority in this case, because as those other units will try to close the distance in order to get closer to the archers, they will get destroyed. And of course there is a reason why I leave one space between all the archers, but that will become more relevant in the future missions. Right now it's not really important to have those spaces out there, but in the future missions it will be important. So I'm continuing on to use the footman to try to scout for the locations here. We found another gold mine. I'm trying to find another bridge and any other enemies that might be walking around or hiding in the forest around here, because like I said before, there is no orcish base on this map and the enemies are kind of scattered throughout the map itself, and eventually we'll try to kind of attack the units here, but I still should be trying to seek them out. It's much easier and faster just to seek them out. There it is, there's another bridge, and that's another one of those choke points that I can use in the future to stop the enemies from advancing on my base. And in a few moments we're going to see why the ranged units are so powerful. Now the demonstration is going to be involving the orcish spear throwing units and my footmen who are already kind of hurt, and so it's kind of makes sense why they're going to get annihilated just by two of the spear throwing units. But still, it shows the difference between the melee units and the ranged units, because the melee units need to make up that distance, and in that time they get annihilated. And of course in one-on-one battle the ranged unit will get destroyed by the melee unit, because melee units do have more hit points and deal more damage. The ranged units only have the range to go for them, but that's the reason why I use multiple ranged units and kind of build a long wall that will annihilate any melee unit that will approach it. Even if the melee unit makes it to the first line of the archers, the second line of the archers will aid the first in destroying any melee unit that made it this far. Now there's not that many enemies actually left more on the map. All I'm going to be doing right now is build up the 4 archers so that I can send them over to the bridge and begin my slow creep across the bridge. Because we run out of gold, I'm gonna send the remaining peasants that I have, since we're not killed off by any orcs, to go ahead and mine more gold. Right there. So I'm going to take the positions here on the bridge, and this will I think trigger remaining enemies to attack me. I'm just kind of just cleaning up here, sending in the peasants to go ahead and mine gold further, and now we just go ahead and move slowly across the bridge. And as you can see right there, the trigger works, the enemies attack, and we're gonna kill off this final orc, and that's it. Thank you for listening to Tatar Khan, and if you like this video, please like it and subscribe.